Have you ever stopped to think, what if your most cherished beliefs, your closest relationships, aren't actually built on solid ground? Well, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche had this incredibly powerful and kind of unsettling idea about this. We're going to dive into it today. He called it walking across the plank.
So let me ask you, straight up, think about your deepest beliefs, the things you just know are true. How stable are they really? I mean, are we talking solid bedrock here, or is it maybe something a little less steady? And let's take it a step further. What about your relationships? The people that make up your entire world. How strong are those connections, truly?
Because for Nietzsche, those bonds we rely on, they're basically just unstable crossings. He argued that our whole society is nothing more than the shaky, fragile bridge built over a massive abyss. And that abyss? That's the huge gap of individual difference that separates every single one of us. It's a wild thought, right?
Okay, so let's really get into this central metaphor. This is the core of it all. Nietzsche wants you to picture all of our shared truths, our morals, our duties, as nothing more than a single narrow plank of wood, and it's stretched over a deep, dark chasm.
And this plank, it represents everything. The truths we all just kind of agree on. The unconditional duties we feel we have. Our friendships, our families, our social bonds. Think about a political party, a religion, even just the unwritten rules of your friend group. For Nietzsche, all of that, it's just a plank that's barely holding us up over the void of total isolation.
And here's the kicker. Crossing this plank is always a high-stakes maneuver. Nietzsche's point is that a single misstep, one moment of honest doubt, one tough question, could be enough to make the whole thing just collapse.
But let's be real, that's not how most of us go through life, is it? We tend to think the ground is solid. We act like we're on a superhighway, not a rickety plank. And this is where we see this huge clash with Nietzsche's perspective.
So you've got these two totally different ways of seeing things. On one hand, there's the common view. It's a solid highway, it's stable, it's safe, you don't even have to think about it. But then you have Nietzsche's view. It's a fragile plank, it's temporary, it's dangerous, and it requires what he called an intellectual conscience, which is basically a commitment to questioning everything, even when it's super uncomfortable.
So who's out there telling us it's a highway and not a plank? Well, Nietzsche points his finger at the teachers of the object of existence. Think about it. Our leaders, our moral authorities, they have every reason to convince us that this rickety plank is actually a solid, eternal bridge. Why? Because it keeps everyone in line. It keeps things stable.
Okay, but what happens when you actually stop for a second and you dare to look down? This is where it gets really intense. This is what you could call the vertigo of awareness. So you look down, and what do you see? The abyss of isolation. That chasm represents the deep, raw, undeniable fact that at your core, you are an individual. You're fundamentally separate from everyone else.
And yeah, Nietzsche does not pull any punches here. He says that when you look into that abyss, you see the atavistic and wicked parts of yourself. Now, wicked here doesn't necessarily mean evil, it means primal. It's all the raw, selfish, chaotic stuff that our social rules, our ideas of neighborly love, are basically designed to paper over.
So, what's the natural reaction to seeing all that? Pure vertigo, maybe even disgust, or just straight up terror. It's the fear of the fall, the sudden, gut-wrenching realization of just how fragile everything really is.
But here's the thing. Nietzsche isn't just trying to scare us. He doesn't leave us hanging there in a state of absolute terror. He actually offers a way forward, a solution. He calls it the path of the free spirit.
And this idea is right there in the title of his book, The Gay Science. And we should be clear, gay here means joyful, lighthearted. It's not about being naive or ignoring the danger. It's the complete opposite. It's about mastering the art of navigating all this tragedy and instability with a sense of lightness, maybe even with laughter.
So how do we actually do that? Well, it kind of breaks down into 3 steps. First, you've got to see the plank for what it is. It's not an eternal truth. It's temporary and experimental. Step 2, walk with a lighter step. This means letting go of that need to own things, to control people. All that stuff is just extra weight that's going to snap the plank. And finally, step 3, you have to transform that fear of falling into a joy of balancing.
And this is such a huge shift in thinking. Because when those old planks, traditional morality, old school religion, when they inevitably start to crack and break, Nietzsche says don't mourn them. Instead, this is your chance to find a whole new kind of power.
a power that comes from your own ability to keep your balance. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. This isn't just a cool metaphor, it's a complete reframing of what the goal of life even is.
The wisdom of the tightrope walker isn't in reaching the other side. For Nietzsche, the entire meaning of life, the object of existence, is found in the skill and the grace of the crossing itself.
So to put it as simply as possible, stop looking for a stable bridge. True strength, true nobility in Nietzsche's eyes is found in your own skill as a tightrope walker, in your ability to navigate the instability with poise.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Take a good, hard look at your own life, your beliefs, your relationships. Which of those bridges that you think are so solid are actually just a plank?